Hey everyone, and welcome to our YouTube channel. I'm your host, Lauren Kalil. Today we have Rory McKernan here to talk about the 2022 Legends Championship presented by Mayhem Athlete. Rory, tell me, how are you feeling? Things are coming up quickly. Where are we with getting ready for this big event?
Yeah, we are. We're down to the wire. So we are. Let's see. We're past the point where load-in will actually happen. So we're 1 week away from competition having been going for a day. This is a 4-day competition, so it'll start next Thursday. We were just talking about this before the camera started rolling. It's obviously high stress. Lots of stuff has to come together at the end, and you want to make sure that the ship is just going to miss the icebergs because if you're not pushing your limits, you're not trying hard. But we're having a blast. This is the time where you also get really excited. It's like the pregame jitters. So we're almost there.
What would you say you are most excited about? Especially what is that one little thing that keeps you going, even with all of the stressors that happen with putting on an event?
It's funny, and not because I don't like the in between, but my favorite part of these kind of things is actually the Sunday night after when you're breaking down. Because if we're being honest, look, you're in Dubai right now. I'm sure you did a million things. Your hair was on fire. But for those who
Literally.
for those who love this lifestyle, it's the all of the things that we call stressful and difficult. It's really it's more fun when the bullets are flying, right? So what makes me excited, one, is to create something that's really fun for people to attend and to participate in and to watch. And I think that's exactly what we're doing. And on top of that is for a community, the Masters specifically, that they don't really get a lot of these. At the CrossFit Games, they feel oftentimes in the past like they've been underserved, and I think that's being addressed. But standalone events like this, there's maybe one or two in a given season. And so for guys like Bob and Joe, who put on the Legends now for years, started in a parking lot, and I think for them to come to Mayhem, it's a really special deal. And so that makes me really excited too, to see specifically the Masters having an event that's going to look and feel like anything as big as you've seen in the past at Mayhem. That gets me fired up.
Well, speak about kind of comparing it to the games and just even talking about those masters athletes and really wanting to provide something for them where it's all about them. What is some of the feedback that you get at the end of the weekend when the athletes really are able to take it all in and maybe appreciate it a little bit more, what you guys are doing?
Well, I'll speak to the games because it's the first time that we're doing this event, right?
Yeah.
The hope is that, look, it's never universally good feedback. We'd be lying if we said that, right? There's always opportunities to iterate. There's always opportunities to get better, and you certainly can't please all the people all the time. But in a perfect world, you've got every single one of them who's extremely happy, but then just got a couple of gripes, and not even gripes, just opportunities for improvement for the next year, right? We joke about it, but now that I'm part of the Masters community, I can say that we joke about it. I'm part of the community, but it's a
So you can
very
relate.
vocal
You
community.
really understand.
I can relate, and I know that they have a reputation for not being afraid to air grievances, and so they've been very vocal in the past. But speaking again to Bob and Joe, they've always gotten great feedback after their events, and simply by bringing it here to Cookeville and to Mayhem, what I've been told from them and feedback that I've received directly is just that people are fired up really just to be here.
And I mean, it's so cool to give them that opportunity to have it. When it comes to you specifically, is there a role that you want to do versus the role that you actually do? Do you wear many hats? Kind of give us an inside look to that.
That's a great question. Yeah, I do a lot. I wouldn't even say there's things that I don't want to do. It's just anybody who's run an event knows that there is so much nitty gritty that, again, when it comes down to the wire, it's there's a million little details that fall into place, and the hope is that people at home never have to know what those things are because that's the magic of television, that's the magic of events. But what do I want to do? Actually, I get to host this broadcast, so I get to be the broadcast coach, which is great. I feel like my past is finally coming to a place where it meets my gray hair, and so I can actually use my broadcast past and then actually
I
look
love
like
that.
I'm in the right place. I don't know the TikTok dances for the younger group, so I can talk to the older group about Facebook.
That's great. I think that's great though, because like anybody who has been an OG in this sport, they know you as like the broadcast guy. And as soon as you get in front of the camera, the microphone, like you just instantly, like you have what it takes. And I think you in that position gives that little glimmer to the athletes as they're competing to hear your voice and have you back in that environment. Do you see yourself staying in that place for years to come, or is there another role that maybe is down the line for you?
Like doing broadcast stuff?
Hmm.
Oh, it's
Like with the
listen, it's
event.
always some. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's you know, that's really sweet of you to say, but it's something that I just love doing. You know, it's really really fun, and there'll be a bunch of old friends, so it'll be a bit of a reunion. Sean Woodland will be on the mic, Annie Sakamoto will be in the
Oh,
house, and the guys
awesome.
behind the scenes too are like they're the dudes that we're producing the update show. Really, when I had just started doing the update show, and so it's really really fun for us to all kind of come together and do events, no matter where it is or what we're doing. So yes, I will always do that, but my behind the scenes responsibilities have really like taken the forefront of my professional life, which is honestly it's just as fun. It's just flexing a lot different muscles. So yeah, I hope that there's always opportunities to kind of marry the two once in a while. And when those opportunities arise, it's like, it's just a heck yes.
I love to hear that. And like I said, you wear so many different hats. It's cool to see you in the different elements. But when it comes to Mayhem Athlete, it's obviously well known for their programming, for some of the fittest athletes around the world. What can we expect from a programming perspective during the competition?
Yeah, well, here's what's funny. I actually got to jump on and talk to some of the athletes previously, and they're like, "Oh, is this going to be all home cooking, just mayhem type stuff?" And I was like, well, "I mean, yeah. There's been no secret about how Rich Froning programs CrossFit,
Yeah,
um, really for the last decade." And in my very biased mind, I think that he has one of the best programming minds. It's one of the very many reasons that he was such a great athlete, is such a great athlete. So I don't think there's any secret about what you're going to see. Like when Ridge programs is very similar to what you saw at the Mayhem Classic. Like it's CrossFit, but what
hmm,
Mayhem Athlete and the whole team is really excited about is, um, we've learned a lot over the years. And when I say we, really the Mayhem Athlete team, specifically Jake Lockhart, who leads up our online programming, they become tremendous. And this is through feedback from the community and a team of people that he utilizes about taking exactly what I'm talking about, like pure CrossFit programming, and then applying that for masters, because they do have specific needs. They do have specific
sure.
limitations in some senses. Maybe limitations isn't the right word, but there's a right and a wrong way to do it. And you can't just take what a 20-year-old competitive athlete is doing and say, hey, just knock off a couple reps, or hey, just drop the weight a little bit, right? There's a science to it and there's an art to it. And so I think that I think I'm really excited to let people see that. But also we're not trying to prove anything by saying like, hey, you've got to have this crazy implement, or dodge fireballs while you're going down the field of play. Like CrossFit is CrossFit.
It always will be. But I think that's kind of the beauty of it, is that regardless of whether you're a teen, an individual, or even like a master's, you can find ways to get the same stimulus, just different based on the programming.
Without a doubt. Yeah. And what's really cool, man, I love for people to come and visit here, because, they see our YouTube channel, they see Rich and what he's doing on
Yeah.
Instagram, but then you show up and it's like a 500 member gym that has, specifically we have longevity classes, and we've got a massive cohort of people who are doing these things. We do have teenage classes that, occupy one side of the gym so much that we have to move other people out of the way. So
Wow.
it's the important part of CrossFit that, I hope never gets lost on people, that the games and competition is this really cool
Mhm.
point of the spear, but it's really just an example of what we're doing in the gym on a daily basis.
Sure. Do you get to test any of these workouts?
Um, I haven't done any of these ones
Do
yet.
you want
I did
to?
do, yeah, I actually get a kick out of it. One thing that's important to know about me is like I have no aspiration of competing. I'm in CrossFit for fitness and fitness alone, and but I still enjoy. I've got a couple guys that I work out with 5 a.m. every day, and you bet that I want to beat every single one of them in them.
Oh
And
yeah,
I,
you
I want to
never
give,
lose that itch.
yeah, yeah. So we've got the healthy cooperation, coopetition, I guess is what you could call it. So yes, I'll try them. Yes, I will brag about them if I win, and I'll downplay them and pretend like I don't care if I lose.
Spoken like a true competitive athlete.
Yeah, right.
It's It doesn't matter how far away from like the competitive side we get, it's still in our nature. Like that's why we do CrossFit, for among other reasons, and health and longevity and all of that. Um, any idea of like what the future, maybe like 5, 10 years from now, holds for not just this event, but even just for the masters community in general? Because we do want to keep seeing this longevity and sustainability for people in the masters division.
Yeah, yeah. I think that it's funny. We were having this conversation the other day as well, and when you take it and you look at it, it's as inspirational or more, meaning the masters competing, as any other piece of CrossFit competition. But it's also no secret that when you talk about broadcast television or prime time, that people want to see the young and best athletes, and that's fair.
Mhm.
So I think that for the future, it's important that we try and take events like this and we try and build them up, separate them from times where there's other portions of heavy competition. Maybe the beginning of December isn't the best, but where it falls naturally in gaps, that we can highlight the masters and only the masters at one time. And in defense of the CrossFit Games, it's hard to do at the CrossFit Games. There's a lot going on, and if push comes to shove, most likely you're going to have to, put the top athletes in the open category on top. It's just how it
Mhm.
is. And so I think though, what we've learned also is that there's specific brands who are very much focused on the masters community. And I don't even mean that lightly. I mean, like, specifically, they're like, well, our products just work better for people who are over the age of 40, much less 35. And
Mhm.
so making sure that there's avenues for them to participate, because again, you guys have done fantastic coverage on the fact that it's not easy to make money off of an event. And it's really, really easy to lose money on events. So being
Yeah.
able to build this kind of stuff up and make a fantastic experience where you show off the athletes, you highlight them and showcase them, and it's still a win-win for everyone involved. I think that if we can all put our collective, conscience and effort together, that there's a really, really bright future for the masters community. Because again, people are banging down the door. They're upset that we have. They're upset that the facility has a limitation. We can't have that many spectators. Um,
Wow.
People want to be here. The broadcast is going to be top notch, and people are going to love watching it. So again, I think you can't put it in direct competition with other events. You got to make it. I think that we need to kind of carve it out, make it its own thing, and really shine the light on it that it deserves.
What do you think is one or maybe a few things that really do set it apart from other competitions?
I mean, it's just the obvious. Well, the most obvious is that some of these people are. Let me take it away from CrossFit real quick. For my mom's
Yeah.
70th birthday this year, we did a half Ironman triathlon, and I only beat her by an hour. Okay, and so it was on her 70th
Oh,
birthday.
Rory. Oh no.
But that's not because I
She's
suck. Like, it was my
fit.
first one. Yeah,
No,
I did
she's
pretty good.
amazing.
She's amazing. And so, you take that, and anybody who's kind of defying, I wouldn't even say defying the odds, but they're defying what people outside of our niche community of CrossFit are used to
Mhm.
seeing, which is a 70-year-old typically is going to be sitting on the couch and spending a lot less time. Maybe their
Yeah.
activity is like they go for a walk on a daily basis, and that's a big win for them. And I'm not trying to downplay or poke fun at anybody, but I love what the masters bring to the table at the highest age groups, where you're like, holy cow, like, life goals big time. And then
100%.
the younger age groups, like, these dudes are still, these men and women are still just complete brawlers. um, Jason Grubb, who's a multiple year CrossFit Games champion, he happens to be a Mayhem athlete, and he's been here for a while. But if I can be anywhere near where that guy is, like, after the age of 45, holy cow. I think it really helps us to kind of turn the tables and be like, wow, this is super inspirational for what's possible. And the last thing I'll say is, I've always said that the most important thing is, like, a CrossFit coach is empathy, being able to kind of understand where somebody is. And being now 41 years old, I recognize that when I was 20, I had no idea what a 40-year-old went through, or what it was like at that age. To me, it was like that person was ancient, you know? Um, so
Yeah,
now
yeah.
being there and recognizing, like, wow, it's a lot more fun for me to watch my peers compete than some of the top athletes. I don't mean that like at the CrossFit Games. I want to see Justin Medeiros come across the finish line. I want to see Haley Adams do something impossible. Um, but it is also just as fun for me it's like when we do the open and you look at those top athletes, you're like, great, but really you're looking down a leaderboard for your bro or somebody who you know is in the same category as you. Because again, that's a better measuring stick for me than trying to put myself against Noah Olson and see if I can do as many pull-ups. Like, it just ain't gonna happen.
Sure. Well, and I think that those athletes, they're so incredible, but almost in a different way, where then you look at masters athletes and it's like, wow, they are defying what anybody really ever thought was possible. I know that we have this 63-year-old woman that comes to our affiliate in Syracuse, New York. And before she joined CrossFit, she had no physical activity, was never involved in sports, didn't go to a Globo gym. And now just watching her succeed, doing banded pull-ups, like able to run a mile without stopping. It's those little things that I think are just so cool about the Masters division.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And you know, not to get too nerdy, but if you were able to like look at her blood work and what's going on under the hood and like see where she gets to take herself, like longevity wise, and the productivity she gets to have with her kids and all kind of all the touchy feely stuff that comes as a byproduct of what we do in the gym and on the competition floor. I would love to see that woman's life outside the gym, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, I bet it's totally changed since she walked into the CrossFit gym, which I think is so cool. Speaking of the athletes specifically with Mayhem's master athletes, I think I read that there were 64 of them competing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That well, I think
What,
that might be from the games. I'm gonna mess this up, but obviously we had a massive amount of athletes at the CrossFit
a ton.
Games. Across all age groups, and there is, yes, a large portion of the folks who are coming. No, actually, you're right. There's in the 60s of how many people are actually coming from around the world. One actually is he was the only representative of Costa Rica at the CrossFit Games. And long story, now he lives in Wyoming.
Wow.
And so I'm excited. I'm excited to talk to him about how that all worked out and what it's like. I'm sure it's a little bit different from the beach to the mountains. But yeah, 64. So highly representative of Mayhem athlete. And I don't think that's just because they partnered with us this year. One of the reasons that Legends reached out to us in the first place is that Bob and Joe had been following Mayhem athlete. And so from an esteem point of view, they were like, yes, we'd love to run the event there. Of course, we would love to have some sort of a partnership with Rich. But on the flip side, they were like, hey, we tried a bunch of other training protocols, and Mayhem athlete was what resonated, made us better. And that's that's the reason that they wanted the programming to come from us.
When we talk about a competition that is over the course of 4 days, especially for Masters Division, how is the programming? I wouldn't necessarily say altered, but I guess just like programmed in general to make sure that these athletes don't leave at the end of the weekend absolutely wrecked, but they still feel like they had a really good event.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think that again, Rich is uniquely good at this, and the team surrounding him is great. And it was super collaborative with the Legends guys because, you know, we did throw some stuff out at first. They're like, "Hey, that would be an awesome workout, but if we're gonna bring up some reality, like, hey, here's the time cap that you have to do because we're putting 320 athletes through these events over the course of 4 days, right? We would need 7 days if we wanted to increase the time caps, as we would need to do some of the things that you proposed." But it is a challenge. But again, like that's where the artistry comes in. I think the scientific part of it is like, hey, we have to test this, we have to test this, we have to test this. Obviously, we can't go throw them in one of the frozen lakes around here. There's challenges like that, and we're not trying to be the CrossFit Games. So there's limitations in that sense. But yeah, it is a challenge. And again, I think that's why we're really lucky to have Rich and Jake, along with the Legends guys who could do that kind of stuff really in their sleep, and frankly have a great time doing it, where they're like, you know, they nerd out on some programming and some competition structure. So what's really cool about Mayhem is that even though it is just a gym, it's not we're not obviously going to run this in a coliseum of some sort. We already have so much equipment here that it's like there's almost nothing where you could be like, well, what if we want to do this? And we'd be like, shoot, we don't have 200-pound sandbags. Well, we do. We don't have you name it. It's like fill in the blank. Or we've got just such an amazing partnership. Rich's relationship with Bill and Katie Henniger from Rogue is, obviously decades in the making. And they've just been such an amazing support too, where it's like, there's really nothing they could have dreamed up that we wouldn't be able to do. But to the point of your question, it's like, again, you've got, in my mind, the best programmer from an athlete standpoint in Rich,
Sure.
and him teaming up with the guy from Legends and being like, hey, this has worked in the past, this hasn't, and watching the collaboration that came from that, it was really cool.
Well, Rory, I cannot wait to see what you guys put on. It's going to be a super fun event. You're going to be back on the mic. We're going to have stories. We're going to make sure that everybody stays informed. It's going to be a good time. And again, thank you guys for doing this, because I think it's so important to really have that special event for our Masters community.
Thank you, my friend, for taking the time. For people at home who don't know, they should know that you are just hustling right now in Dubai, and so probably hanging on by a thread. So you're the real hero.
There's a couple threads left, but I know how you're feeling too. So we're all pushing through for the better of the community, and I love it.
Cool. Have fun over there, and yeah, thanks again.